Before I begin, I'd also like to thank very much the very talented and dedicated staff of the block that's worked so hard to bring these exhibitions to fruition. Polaroid's Mapplethorpe, on view in the adjacent Alsdorf Gallery, is the first in-depth look at Robert Mapplethorpe's early photography, thoroughly researched and curated by Sylvia Wolf. From 1970 to 1975, Mapplethorpe created some 1,500 Polaroids. Most of them are not signed, they're not dated, and up until now, they've sort of been thought of as, here are just some small examples of his early work, and then moving on to what is more prominently known and considered his later gelatin silver prints. It's not then possible to concretely identify every work or date it. However, through Wolf's research, she considered the format of the photograph and the tools that he used to provide some indication of this. In 1970, Mapplethorpe acquired a 360 Polaroid camera. In 1973, he acquired a Graflex camera, and at that point he stopped using the 360. Each of these produced a different format. The 360 Polaroid made a very small image on a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 sheet, while the Graflex camera, with which he attached a Polaroid pack to the back of it, took a larger image on a 4 1/8 by about 5 1/8 inch sheet. So using this as a to begin to structure a general timeline of Mapplethorpe's crucial work within these 5 years, we're able to then understand the creative process and the development of these works in a much larger context in the history of not only his work, but also in the history of photography. Similarly, the main gallery exhibition upstairs, from Michelangelo to Nibile Carracci, A Century of Italian Drawings from the Prado, celebrates the first in-depth look at the Prado's drawing collection, their old master collection. This group upstairs of 70 works were selected from approximately 3,000 European drawings originally assembled by Isidoro Brun, a 19th century engraver and restorer for the Spanish monarchy. Research in preparation for this exhibition by Nicholas Turner, former curator of the British Museum and the J. Paul Getty Museum, has revealed some very interesting and striking reattributions. Namely, his discovery of two small sketches by Michelangelo for the Last Judgment of the Sistine Chapel. What you see on the right is the study of a man's extended arm with his right finger. This is in the upper left corner of the Last Judgment, and on the left side you see again a shoulder view from the image of one of the sketches of the damned. The exhibition and publication of the drawings from the Prado, again, is extremely important because this is the first time these works have been brought to the United States. It also represents the first in-depth look at a very important collection so that we may better understand the history and purpose of European drawing, particularly that of 16th century Italy, which is so crucial to its development. In the Prado exhibition, you'll see a variety of works, including primi pensieri, such as this one, which is the first thoughts, an artist just beginning to quickly make notations and jot down ideas for an initial concept for an exhibition, to fully finished preparatory studies. In this case, the work is gridded for the purpose of transferring it to a much larger finished work. And again, this presents to us another parallel between the two shows. In the for the 16th century Italians, this was a way of making an initial idea, to take your ideas and put them on paper so that before they're realized to a much fuller, finished form. And similarly for Mapplethorpe, this was his first use of photography, experimenting with what he was considering as subjects for art, but being able to realize them on that, albeit small, glossy sheet. In the Mapplethorpe exhibition, you'll see subjects that do appear in his later works, such as flowers, portraiture, the nude figure, and referencing all the time to classical images, such as photographing of this sculpture. This, again, is something that becomes more fully realized with his later works when he acquired a portrait studio camera, which allowed him to make even larger images at a sharper detail and perception. This work, too, I should mention, is on exhibit in a small display of works from our collection. We have a sampling of objects, the Mapplethorpe photographs of 4 of our own 16th century Italian drawings, as well as a recent gift from the Andy Warhol Foundation of Polaroids and photographs. So all of these together work, there's synergies to show different perceptions and perspectives on our shows. Crucial to Italian works in the 16th century was the changing economy and the growth of the upper class, both through lay and ecclesiastical patronage. The arts and architecture greatly expanded. The growing demands for new construction, devotional artworks, and decorative arts necessitated the services of architects, artists, sculptors, and painters. Drawing was the starting point for these artistic endeavors, this being Annibale's possible drawing for Galleria Farnese. Mapplethorpe, too, became the photographer and artist that he is known today through the support of friends and patrons. Not to be dismissed in particular should be Sam Wagstaff, a uniquely visionary curator and collector in his own right. His very close relationship with Mapplethorpe and an idea of what could become through these talents should not be dismissed. Mapplethorpe's photographs are also an exploration of self-discovery, of examining who he is as a person and what it is he can communicate through his art. Next door, you'll see a number of self-portraits, and also by photographing the friends and the people around him in his particular lifestyle, reading of a new biography. In this image in particular, I think it's unique in the lower right-hand corner. What you see is a reflection of the artist Mapplethorpe just barely peeking out from behind the camera. On the left side is a model. Both the model and the photographer are being reflected through a mirror. And so not only is this is an example of his very elegant depiction of the male nude, but also it shows the artist looking at the male nude and examination and appreciation of its form and the right to do this. Upstairs, and truly beginning even earlier than the 16th century, you began to see a reflection of an artist's understanding of their place in the world as artists and where they fit within society, sometimes through a critical view, sometimes through an elevated view. In this drawing by Vasari, who is quite well known for his own laying down of the histories of most excellent painters and sculptors and architects, some of the first biographical documentation on these artists and their lives. But in this drawing by Vasari, you see a depiction of St. Luke in the lower right painting the Madonna. This was for a chapel for the patron saint of the arts. You'll notice that the frame of the canvas, that square frame of the canvas and the very bright drawing of it, frames the image of St. Luke himself. The Madonna up in the upper left also has this halo around her. But what's particularly interesting is the profile of the artist, or of St. Luke, is thought to be the profile of Vasari himself. So in many ways, this was his own self-portraiture, allowing him to look at the Madonna because he's placed himself as the saint that can do so. Equally, there are a number of formal relationships that can be made between the two exhibitions. Both the Prado show is centers around a human's perspective and a human's look at their position in the world. Therefore, the body and the figure is central to their compositions. Equally, many of Robert Mapplethorpe's photographs are based in this examination of the human figure. And with this last image, I leave you to consider some of these similarities. Thank you.